Al Chahan is being watched. He's on his way to work and he's counting CCTV cameras.
You can see cameras all around the university campus there. Street poles. So I'd say anywhere between 50 to 100 cameras easily on the way to work. If someone's watching.
He's keenly aware of how many eyes are on him because he installs the cameras for a living.
Predominantly, I find they're coming from China. Because they are so much cheaper, they're flooding the market.
On almost every corner of almost every street of Australia's major cities, you'll find a surveillance camera. A substantial number of those are made in China, and the two big Chinese brands are Hikvision and Dahua.
You don't need to see my continuous surveillance and precise automation with machine vision.
Hikvision is 42% owned by the Chinese government's defence research arm.
At Hikvision, we are committed to unleashing the power of machine vision.
Dahua is privately owned, but cybersecurity expert Fergus Hansen says that all Chinese companies pose a risk.
Because of Chinese laws, there's a requirement to engage in espionage on behalf of the state.
You don't have to care who I am.
And both companies have had security flaws exposed, leading to fears that some of the flaws may have been placed there to help the Chinese government spy.
You can remotely access them, so for example from China to another location around the world, and essentially see what that camera is seeing. The passwords are available online, and if they're not properly configured, they provide all kinds of vulnerabilities. So just as a precaution, they're not particularly secure cameras. They provide obviously vision in a whole bunch of sensitive locations, and China is really trying to set itself up as the #1 country for cyber espionage, and this is a key part of that platform.
Since last year, political concern about foreign interference in Australia has been at fever pitch.
In Australia, it is clear that the Chinese Communist Party is working to covertly interfere with our media and also influence our political processes.
We must put aside fear of lost trade and assess the slow creep of Chinese influence and ownership of our strategic assets.
The Australian people stand up.
The US has also been struggling with a response to the growth of Chinese influence. Last month, the US government banned its agencies from using surveillance cameras made by these same Chinese companies as part of an annual defence purchasing bill. It prohibits the use of risky technologies produced by companies with links to the Chinese Communist Party. Back home, we've uncovered evidence of the same Chinese cameras banned by the US being used by Defence, a building that hosts an intelligence agency and several national security departments, state government departments, education providers and local councils, at train stations, even in use at the ABC. When we alerted these agencies, many were either unaware or unconcerned about the potential security vulnerabilities. Most appeared more concerned about our cameras.
We thought we'd be alright because we're on public land. But...
Of all the cameras the ABC found, perhaps the most worrying was the Hikvision camera hanging at one of Australia's most sensitive military facilities, RAF Base Edinburgh in Adelaide. Edinburgh is one of the centres of Australia's military intelligence, aerial surveillance and electronic warfare. As a result of our inquiries, Defence removed the Hikvision camera and said it would also remove others they found.
It's a real dereliction of duty, I think, to have them in military bases or in anywhere where you're going to have basically secure operations. But even on the street, you've got the potential to inadvertently contribute towards Chinese espionage activity by providing real-time information about the situation on the ground.
That's a Hikvision camera. This one over here, another Hikvision camera.
Toby Walsh is a professor of artificial intelligence.
There's two things about the next generation cameras. One is that the resolution, their ability to see you in difficult situations, and the second is the software, that we've got image recognition. We can recognize people's faces very easily now, automatically. We can recognize people from their gait, the way that they walk.
A leading surveillance industry website, IPVM, published a detailed account earlier this year describing how Hikvision are using artificial technology to identify ethnic minorities in China. In a statement, Hikvision said it has never conducted nor will conduct any espionage-related activities for any government in the world. Dahua has also previously said the same thing. It's not just Chinese CCTV manufacturers that are accused of passing on the data they collect to the Chinese state. This camera that we're filming on right now is made by Dajiang Innovations, known as DJI. If you've ever owned a consumer drone or heard one buzzing overhead, chances are it was made by DJI. Their control of the camera drone market globally is such that 2 out of every 3 drones sold are made by DJI. And they've also been accused of spying.
At DJI, we created the flying camera as you know it. And there's a good chance that the drone videos you've seen online were shot with one of our cameras.
The US military banned DJI drones after research found they posed unacceptable cybersecurity risks.
The threat of information leaking from those drones, they're connected to the internet. Anything that's connected to the internet, you've got to think that that data might leak to someone or the owner of the manufacturer. Even just the GPS coordinates tell you things about the world. I would be very worried both about malevolence. There are people possibly in China, possibly in Russia and elsewhere who would have evil intent to try and take this information.
Australian government tenders reveal that DJI have sold their camera drones to every part of the Australian Defence Force. Air Force Air Command, Army Forces Command, Navy Strategic Command, and, perhaps most worryingly, the Army's Special Operations Headquarters. Last year, the Australian Defence Force announced a temporary ban on military use of consumer drones in response to the US Army's DJI prohibition. But after a 2-week risk assessment, they announced their drones were flying again, under new operating procedures. A defence spokesperson declined to say what those new operating procedures are or how they use the drones, except to say they believe it's safe. This video released by Defence last month has them showing off their new DJI drones at a training facility in Queensland. Robbie Sen is a former US government security researcher who now designs software to protect government and companies against the misuse of drones.
Corporations have routinely told us that, for example, you cannot access our drones' information. DJI is a great example. And then we do. Our company makes a product that essentially takes over these drones and devices and allows you to access the information. And if we can do it, other people can do it. And other people have shown this.
We contacted DJI headquarters in China several times for this story, but received no response.
I'm still not satisfied with their security level response. It's still not up to snuff.
The same can be said for Hikvision and Dahua. Security consultant Kamal Chauhan says that he won't be installing any more CCTV cameras with links to the Chinese government.
No, definitely not. I'll sell something else, but not those cameras.